For many. It portrays the Lord as one who gives more and more to those who have so much and takes away from those who have so little. There doesn't seem to be a whole lot of grace and mercy displayed there. Nevertheless, this parable does teach us a lot about discipleship. Jesus used images that were familiar to people who lived back then. Masters and slaves, money and investments. Now, a talent in Jesus' day was 75 pounds of either copper, silver, or gold. Silver was the most commonly used commodity. And a talent would be approximately one that would receive for working 7 days a week, for 52 weeks a year, 20 years. So with the life expectancy back then, pretty close to a lifetime. So in other words, one slave received 5 lifetimes of treasure. One slave received 2 lifetimes of treasure, and one slave received an entire lifetime of treasure. Now what a beautiful truth that proclaims. That our God is a God who gives. A God who loves to give. The God who gives in abundance. Yeah, some got more, but everyone got enough. Now, on the surface, we can see this parable as wise financial advice. So many financial experts now are saying that people need to be more bold in their retirement planning. The old advice: keep your money in a savings account or at a local bank or buy safe and secure but low interest bonds, just doesn't work out so well anymore. It used to. It used to work okay when people had only lived 5 or 10 years past retirement. But that doesn't work as well today with people living 30, 40, even 50 years past retirement. One needs to put one's money to work while incurring some risks. The parable also addresses the financial folly of just hiding one's money. How many home invasions have you heard about where someone broke into another person's home because word was out that that person had a lot of money hidden away? Lives have been lost because of that. Well, despite the soundness of the financial advice, this is not what Jesus wanted his followers to learn. One of the popular shows on television these days is America's Got Talent. Have you seen it? It debuted in 2006, and it's actually now spread throughout the world. UK's Got Talent, China's Got Talent, Japan's Got Talent. And it features singers and dancers and magicians and performers of all different types and all different ages. And the top prize is $1 million. And the opportunity to showcase your talent on the Vegas Strip. Now, I think it was this kind of talent that Jesus was referring to, and not 75 pounds of precious metals. So let me give you a little bit of a different interpretation of this parable this morning. Jesus was preparing his disciples for a time when he would leave this world, but before he left, he entrusted each of his followers with his special talents. To one, he entrusted the talent to teach. To another, he entrusted the gift of compassion. And to a third, he entrusted the ability to faithfully interpret scriptures. Jesus asked them to use their talents, which were essentially on loan, as often as they could. And he promised them that as they did, the kingdom would grow. And then Jesus left his followers. Later, he called the disciples back to him, and he asked each one what he or she had done with the talent that was entrusted to them. The first one was excited about what had happened when she used the gifts that Jesus had given her. She said, "I used my talents to teach as often as I could. I taught children, I taught young adults, I taught the elderly, all about you, Jesus. And I was able to get through to them. They seemed to understand." Oh, at first I was scared. I was afraid that I didn't know enough about you and the Bible. But the more I taught, the more I learned. The more I learned, the more I taught. The more I used my gifts to help others come to know you, the better I got at it. I must have taught hundreds of people about God's love. And Jesus responded, "Well done, my trustworthy follower. Because you have been faithful with these talents, I will give you more abilities that will enable you to become even a better teacher." The second disciple was excited too. His gifts of compassion and empathy had allowed him to touch the lives of people in a way that he had never experienced before. He told Jesus, "When I was growing up, people would tell me that it wasn't manly to hug, or it wasn't manly to share feelings, or even to cry. But when I realized you gave me the gift of compassion, I started hugging my son instead of shaking his hand. I used to feel that I had to hold back my tears when other people were hurting. But then I realized it was so phony. And I remember what you said, that if I cared for others, they would come to know your love through me." Now, at first, I was kind of clumsy at it, and it made me really nervous, but the more I cared about others, the easier it got. And Jesus responded, "Well done, good and trustworthy disciple. The more you use your gifts of compassion, the more effective you will become at showing my love to others. Because you have been faithful with these talents, I will give you even more." Well, that third disciple came to Jesus, and his head was bowed low. And he said, all these years I was afraid to use the talent that you gave me to interpret the Bible. I kept it to myself. I didn't discuss my insights with anyone just in case it might upset others. I stayed away from Bible studies and from Sunday school class. I know that it must make you angry when people make mistakes, and so I didn't do anything because I didn't want to upset you. And Jesus responded, "I entrusted you with the talent of interpreting scriptures so that you could help others learn more about me and my love. Just think about how many people have never heard my message of love and forgiveness because you wouldn't use your talent. All the people whom you've encountered in your life who are questioning and wondering about me and never experienced my presence because of your unwillingness to share your talent. People have been lost because of your unwillingness. You live your life as if I haven't given you a thing. My work is too important to waste. And so I will take the talent that I gave you and give it to the teacher. She will use that talent to reach more people with my love." God has given each one of us talents. And it is our duty and joy to discover those talents and figure out how we can use them to help grow the kingdom and share God's love and grace. One final comment needs to be made. What do you think would have happened if one of the servants said to Jesus, "Lord, I did use the talent that you gave me, but I've got nothing to show for it. I became discouraged at times, but I didn't give up. But it seems as if there's no results." What do you think Jesus would say? I believe he would say, "Well done, good and faithful servant. You gave it your best shot, and the results are not yours to determine. You planted seeds. You planted seeds that will someday lead to a rich harvest. You were faithful in your response, and everything in the kingdom is yours. The good news is we have got so many great talents here. You have shown the talents that you are showing. Gethsemane's got talent, for sure. And it's so great to see how you folks are doing and keeping it up. So go. Keep it up, good and trustworthy servants. Use your God-given abilities. Don't hide your talents. Don't be afraid to use them. Put them to work for the building of the kingdom. Actually, there's one other final comment that I can make here this morning. You know, this gospel really is a great stewardship text. And churches across our country are using this text to talk about money and giving to the church. And I would suspect that there are preachers who are really pouring on the guilt with this one here. I'm not really a big fan of guilt. Somehow the message of God's grace gets perverted into what we can do to earn our salvation, and that's missing the whole point of what Jesus did for us. It's not about what we do that gets us saved. It's about what Jesus did on the cross. Having said that, however, in our culture, giving money away, even to worthy causes, is an idea that is so foreign to so many people. When we share what we give, some of our friends' faces just drop. They ask, you know what you could have done with that money if you could have kept it for yourself? Christina and I have made giving to the Lord's work a priority from the day we were married. And it's not because we have piles of cash laying around. In fact, it's quite the opposite. But we have learned that in following the Bible's guideline for giving, it doesn't leave us bankrupt. Like other talents, giving to support our ministries is something that you can learn and grow from. And so I encourage you to grow in this area. Start somewhere. It's a lesson that needs to be lived truly to believe it. Eventually you will grow to having a goal of tithing, of giving 10% or maybe even more of your income to the work of the Lord. And at first that may seem like a crazy idea, but we then learn to trust more and more in our God and gratitude. Yes, Gethsemane's got talent, and God calls us to share that talent with and for others.